What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back to talk to you guys about Warhammer 40k. So today I originally sat down and was ready to record the second part of 40k in 2020, which is a little 5-part series where I talk about everything that happened in this year regarding the world of Warhammer 40k. And I've split that into the best of 2020, the worst of 2020, the best sculpt and the strongest unit, and the last one will be a surprise. However, I noticed that there was a comment in one of the videos that I just couldn't ignore. So I'm going to read it here, and then I guess we'll dive into the discussion. So James Carden, his comment says that maybe I don't understand this whole edition thing of Warhammer 40k. Maybe they're very different from the editions of Dungeons and Dragons. But to me, it seems that GW pushes out these new rules way too fast, and it forces everybody to reinvest in this game. It seems like some really scummy business practices, and I would really like somebody who actually plays Warhammer 40k to weigh in and let me know if this is an accurate comparison. So, this is actually really pertinent, and it's something that I've thought about for a while, but it's like, so here it is. You're correct, James. You are 100% correct. Editions, in my opinion, come out way too quick, and it really does force all the players to reinvest in the game. It is something that we've seen throughout the years. I started playing back in 5th edition, and we're currently in 9th, so that's 4 editions that we've played, and even though sometimes they take too long, sometimes it's too quick, you're 100% right that everybody has to reinvest their armies, because you need to buy the newest rulebook, then you need to buy the newest codex, and with all that changes, all the shifts in gaming mechanics and point values, you now have to either reinvest in your army because the models that you got are too expensive, or maybe they're not good, or maybe they're just outdated. But yeah, the editions of 40k, there's been 4 since I started back in 5th edition, and I believe I was in middle school when that happened. I'm currently out of college, so you could see the vastness in time. Somewhere around 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. No, that's way too much. We'll say like 15 years, something like that. I guess that kind of gives you my age in a way. But yeah, so within, we'll say roughly 15 years, we've seen 4 editions of the game. So if you split that up, you can see that each edition lasts around 3 years, 4 years. And yeah, like if you look at it nowadays, depending on where you are in the world, you're probably in lockdown. And that means that you can't really get games going. You can't sit on a table with your friends and play. You can't even order things and have it shipped to your area, depending on where you are. So the game of 40k is at a standstill right now. It sucks because now you have no real way to gauge if your models, if your army from 8th edition is still good in 9th edition. You have no real way of playing games, of learning the meta and whatnot, and it's a hard time for sure. Now, when you think about 40k, it's not a cheap game. It's an investment. You're putting in a lot of money, a lot of time, and you're making this army your own. And I think that's where a lot of people either love 40k for that reason or hate it, because you can't just buy a box of Warhammer 40k miniatures and play. You have to clip them, prime them, base them, paint them, get their rules, get the rules of the game, get another person who did all that, find a point value, and then you can play. That is not an easy task for anybody to do, especially nowadays. And because of this, it's very time consuming, and you want to play a lot of games to get your money's worth, to get your investment worth, so to speak. And with new editions popping out left and right, that is kind of like a slap to the face, because now GW is saying, hey, all that blood, sweat, tears, and money that you spent in our game, do it again. And it just, I get it. It's not fun, because then, like for example, look at 8th edition, a complete revamp to the game. You took away templates, you took away the core 40k rules and made them simpler, made it streamlined, which is great, but veterans of the game had to relearn basically a whole new game. But it made it easier for new players to learn quick. So in that sense, games went by a lot faster, more people was brought into the hobby, and you got the Primaris Marines, a whole new faction of Space Marines to play in the tabletop. If you notice, Primaris Marines are better than your Firstborn Marines. So if you had an army of all Firstborn Marines, which if you were a Space Marine player, you had one, those models aren't as good anymore. And now if you're playing against somebody who's playing all Primaris, and you have your Classic Marines, you're not in a good position to win. I mean, yeah, it's a dice game, it's all about luck and whatnot, but there are some tactics to this game, so in a way, you're already fighting an uphill battle. And that's not fun, especially since 40k is a competitive game, you know, people play to win. And with 8th edition, now you're kind of forced to say, well, I just spent, $800 on my army, and now I'm not doing as good as I was anymore. So what does this mean? Do I bite the bullet and buy new models and then begin the process all over again? Or do I simply just quit? And that's something that everybody has asked themselves at one point or another, I'm pretty sure, if you've ever been in 40k. Sometimes you take a break, like let's say you take a break from 7th edition and now you're trying to jump into 9th. It's a whole new ballpark, new rules, new models, new lore. You're basically playing a whole new game. So, is it okay for GW to be doing this to us wargamers every couple of years? In a way, yes, because it advances the storyline. It brings in new models, new characters, new rules and abilities. But at the same time, it is kind of a slap to the face where it's like, everything you knew, relearn it. And hey, buy a few models, why don't you? So, in that aspect, it keeps the game going, it keeps the business going, because it forces you to buy at least a codex and a rulebook so you know what you're doing. They've gotten a little bit better with releasing like the core rules for free, but still, everybody knows that GW is money hungry. There's no denying that. They raise prices willy-nilly. They put out subscriptions to an app that is subpar at the moment. We know how GW operates, but we come to this game because we love the lore. We love playing toy soldiers against our friends in this epic space opera that is Warhammer 40k. We love it. Like, there's no denouncing that. Like, this is a game we all love, and that's why we come back to it over and over again. Whether it's the books, the novels, the hobby aspect, the painting, because you might not even know a lick about the lore, but these models look pretty cool, and if you paint them up your way, you know that looks cool too. Or you can be competitive and just play in tournaments and just try to make the best list, the most precise, strongest list possible. That's also fun too. So there's many avenues to this game to enjoy. And if you're just focusing on those avenues, new additions may not mean so much to you unless you're that tournament player, because the meta tends to shift a lot. So you're going to be paying for a bunch of models to make the best list possible, etc. So I don't know. I completely agree with you that these editions are a pain, but at the same time, whenever a new edition is announced, I never really hear too many complaints. it's always brought in with roars of, yes, look at this new box set. Oh my god, the rules are so much better. It's always positive when a new edition comes. Very rarely do we hear the backlash, but the backlash is important because, like you're saying, James, you're spending money to play the same game you've been playing with a reskin in a way. Let me know what you guys think about this. It's definitely something to reflect on. Is it worth it to pay more money to play an updated version for this game? Or, I mean, just think about it. If we always stayed on first edition, for example, think of how the game would be stagnant. Now, they could still release new models and continue the lore and whatnot, but the evolution of the game wouldn't really change. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Because look at Monopoly. That's pretty much the same. Look at checkers, chess. Nothing's really changed with that. But I don't know. At this point, I think I'm just rambling on. But this was a good question, a good discussion, and I want to get your guys' opinion. With the brand new 9th edition coming out just a few months ago, what are your thoughts on this? And overall, do you agree with what James is saying? Is this just a smack to the face to us wargamers for more money? Or does it actually provide enough substance to merit this new purchasing of rules and whatnot? That's all I got for today. Something to think about, guys. And without further ado, I have been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, telling you guys to subscribe because we got more videos coming your way. As always, peace.